everybody in the Clone Club. This is a new edition of Felix's Helixes. We are talking about Season 4, Episode 5, Human Raw Material tonight. I am Karen.
And I'm Steve.
And welcome back, everybody. This is SouthgateMediaGroup podcast. You can find us at southgatemediagroup.com and on Facebook by searching for Southgate Media Group. Your turn, Steve.
Oh, really?
Yes. Line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, your turn.
All right. We're going to be discussing Season 4, Episode 5, Human Raw Material, which was written by Kate Melville, who has done Degrassi, TNG, and Being Erica.
Bunch of Canadian stuff.
Yes. And directed by David Wellington, who has done Rookie Blue, Queer as Folk, and Kids in the Hall.
Crushing your head. I remember a lot of Kids in the Hall, but man, Crushing Your Head, that whole sketch is one of my favorites.
We had a little bit of that in this episode.
We sure did. We really did. Although no Helena, which hurts my heart.
Yes.
She's off the grid right now.
Yeah, we saw one text.
I know. Let's give our ratings. Great episode, right?
Yes, I totally enjoyed this one. Definitely had a couple of WTF moments.
Right.
And I gave it 9 geriatric skateboarders.
Yep. Poor Donnie doesn't know what to do with himself. He has no idea how to deal with any other kind of Donnie other than the Donnie that he is in real life, does he?
Yeah. I don't think we'll ever consider Donnie James Bond 007.
No, never. I went just a slight bit lower, but not by much. 8.5 pilfered beauty supply samples. And honestly, I think it's because Crystal kind of irritates me a little bit. But otherwise, it was great. And maybe because Helena wasn't in it. Maybe.
Yeah, that would be a reason to dock a little bit, which is probably I did too.
Yeah, I really do miss her. And one of the things I really enjoyed about this was that this episode, while it dealt with some really serious topics, it didn't take itself too seriously. There was a lot of like Benny Hill moments.
Yes.
Which I mean, every once in a while I would watch it and it was like one of the clones would go into a room and the other one would come out the door behind her. And it was very cool. I really enjoyed that kind of play off each other. And you bring her to me and then she'd just barely go in the door. You know, Cosima would slip by and then Crystal would come out and it would be, oh, here she is. And it was really quite funny to see that sort of thing. But it was serious, too. I mean, there was a lot of very deep moments in this episode. So, yeah.
Yes.
It was great. Let me give you my story titles. And again, my bonus section is pretty long. I have 3 bonus sections. They're small sections, like little small pieces of the episode, but I do have names for them. So A story would be There Goes My Baby. And that is Cosima's part. And then my B story is Hit Me Baby One More Time, which would be Crystal. C story is Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. And I think you can guess whose storyline that is.
Oh, yeah.
And then my bonus stories would be Kira's story, which I titled Feeling Family. Cougarific, which, again, I think you can figure it out. And then the art of phone tag, which, again, I think you can figure that out as well. Art of phone tag.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those bonus parts first, real quick.
Okay.
The art of phone tag. Now, we got our slimy cop talking to Art.
Yeah, Duco,
right. And he had some information that we have no idea how he got. How did he get all that information?
That's a good question. And I'm not really sure that the two detectives have that much information on the Helixes unless they've got,
it has to be the X, right?
Or yeah, no, I'm thinking it's the lady that Allison beat out for this school board position. Marcy.
Marcy. Could be Marcy.
Talked to those detectives and maybe
Passed
let
it along
some
to
information
Duco, right?
spill about that, yes, they were
See, and I think the
pushing
X,
pharmaceuticals out of bubbles.
right. I think the X might have something to do with it as well.
Yeah.
If he's talking to Duco.
Mm-hmm.
Because Duco is not really on the up and up. He could definitely have ties to drug lords and drug organizations. So
most definitely.
I could see him talking to that dude. I can't remember his name, but yeah, the guy who actually got them into the drug business.
Right.
Yeah, that's I don't like that. So he confronts Art, shows Art a picture of, who does he show him a picture of?
Allison's flyer for the election.
Right, Allison. And says it looks just like Sarah. And he's starting to get, weird vibes about stuff. Art then calls Cosima. And then Cosima calls Allison and confronts her about the whole thing. And Allison or Sarah, who does she call?
Art called Sarah, and then Sarah called Allison.
Okay, right. Thank you. Sorry about that. It's easy to get confused.
Yes.
Okay, so Art calls Sarah, Sarah calls Allison, and then there's this whole war over who did the worst thing between the two. Because, yes, Sarah was trying to sell cocaine at the very beginning. We're reminded of that.
Yes.
But Allison she was in the business. She was a drug lord, essentially. So there's I don't think there's any contest. I mean, I think Allison was really trying to be in the business of selling drugs, whereas Sarah was just trying to do it to get out of a situation.
Right. But so was Allison. I mean, they were
I guess
trying to save their house, but yeah.
Sure.
And they really didn't go that far overboard.
Right. I guess.
Except for the twerking episode. You didn't really see them
the throwing the money around.
Dropping dimes.
Right. And except for the whole murdering of the whole Portuguese family thing. Right. And Leaky. And yeah. So yeah, there's all that. And
of course, during their heated argument, Allison lets it slip that Helena's no longer there.
Right. And Sarah's not happy about that, but they kind of leave that at okay, we'll deal with that later, sort of.
Yeah, Sarah's got enough on her plate right now with her day off with Kira.
Yeah.
So much
Kira, Fee, and the sister.
Adele.
Yeah, Adele. Now, I hate to feel like Sarah because there's a part of me that kind of wants Adele to be an innocent in all this.
Right.
Because I think Felix deserves happiness, a little piece of happiness. I kind of want her to be apart from all this stuff, but I can't help but think that she's just not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there's several ways you can look at this because she meets Kira, and if you've really say, okay, Kira, use your special powers and tell if this is a good person or a bad person. Kira buddies up with her. Mm-hmm. She gives her a hug.
Right.
And so you say, oh, you want to say, okay, that's a good sign.
Then she must be a good person, right? But
when she asks Kira about traveling and where she's been and why would she want to ask that question?
Exactly.
You go,
and Kira gives away the whole Iceland thing, right? Yeah. Exactly. And it was very subtle, but yeah, I did pick it up. And I can see how frustrated Felix is with the whole situation.
Oh, immensely.
And very upset. And poor Siobhan having to play the middle here in all this, where she realizes that Sarah's justified in trying to look a little deeper, especially since the organization that tested them has ties to neo-Lucianists.
Yes.
However, she doesn't want Felix also to be happy. And if this woman is really his half-sister, then she wants her to be part of the family. And that's shown when she pours the wine and says, "Welcome to the family." But you can tell there's also a part of her that is going to be with Sarah.
Yes.
So she's going to have to play both sides, I think. And seeing Kira watch her mother start crying, you know, that just the tear hanging on the edge of her eye there when she says, "Yes, you're related."
Right.
And then take her mother's hand. "We're going to go to the bedroom now." And they walk off. Oh, heartbreaking, right? Because, you know, yes, okay, she has understood that she's done this horrible thing to stir up trouble, but it's also that she's just so hurt that Felix actually has a flesh and blood family where Sarah just doesn't have that.
Right.
You know, she has clone brothers and sisters, but it's not the same as having a real sister.
Right.
So,
and it was amazing that Kira, the roles reversed. Mm-hmm. Kira became the mom and Sarah became the child in that moment.
Exactly.
And it was just unbelievably awesome.
It was. And we have been dying to see Kira talk about her intuition, I guess we'll call it.
Yeah, her empathy.
I don't know what it is. I guess empathy, but it's long distance empathy and also empathy for people she hasn't met yet. So there's something definitely happening there that's almost supernatural. I don't know what to call it because the show hasn't really gotten into supernatural territory.
No.
But it's amazing. I like how she described it, how the show allowed her to describe it, where she is first talking about having these dreams and Sarah's not understanding. And then she takes that downtime with her mother where things are very quiet. And she uses that time to describe that she feels what her aunts, quote unquote, feel.
Right.
And she says, I feel what Cosima feels and what Helena feels.
When she's sad, and Helena when she's lonely, and Rachel is the angriest.
Right. And also some that I don't know. And that was, I think, the most telling. Mm-hmm. And that's when Sarah kind of gets it that, okay, so they're not dreams.
Right.
They're feelings that you're getting across the waves.
Yes.
Somewhere.
She has a tuning fork into the DNA of the clones, which allows her to feel what the others are feeling.
Right. So that is so interesting.
Yeah.
I've been intrigued by that through the whole series, and now I'm even more so. And
it turns right back around and makes Kira the most important person to keep safe.
Right? Exactly.
Because if Evie Chow gets a hold of her...
Oh. I don't want that to happen.
No.
I don't.
We thought Rachel getting a hold of her was bad.
No.
It would be nothing with Evie and Susan getting a hold of her.
Right. Yeah, Susan has become an even bigger bad, really.
Yes.
Evie even seems really inept compared to Susan.
Yeah. At least her security guards do.
Oh, right? Oh, man. And then Cougarific. Wow. What an ending. I had to literally shudder at the ending of this episode. And when I rewatched it, I had to turn it off before it ended. And it's not that I think it's wrong for a December-May romance. It's that I find the fact that she's kind of his mother.
Mother is...
creeptastic. Right? Is it me?
Well, no, I can't tell you how many people on Twitter just... My eyes are burning.
Right.
I think I threw up in my mouth.
Right. And it's not because of any taboo, I think it is, over their ages.
Right.
That it wouldn't bother me in real life so much because love is love. That's
Yes.
my philosophy, really. If two people find love, then more power to them. I don't care about any demographic whatsoever.
Right.
If anyone finds love, I'm happy. But this was just rather perverse. And...
Well, yeah, she raised him, but she's really not his mother because he's a caster, and
yeah, but she
the military developed those. But yes, I agree. It still felt like mother and son. So
right?
Yes,
kinda did. So I was ooged out.
Yeah.
That's all I can say, because she knew him when he was young.
Mm-hmm.
And watched him grow up, and I don't know. I got a Woody Allen vibe from it, is all I could say. So Cougar is fine. Just mother, not so fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did see a few reactions. I'm trying not to dwell on that part.
Yes.
So much. But I'm sure we're going to see more of that because they wouldn't put it in the show without addressing it again, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think that will play into Susan's motivations, maybe.
Yeah, well, she wants to heal him.
Yes, apparently so.
Right.
Probably more so than Rachel.
Yeah, I think so. I honestly don't think she has a huge connection to Rachel.
No.
I really don't.
No.
And now we understand why she has more of a connection to Ira. Because she has allowed him more access and allowed him to go out and see the world. And yeah. Okay, let's drop that storyline now while it's hot.
Food fight.
Right. So we already got Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Feeling Family, Cougarific, The Art of Phone Tag. Those are all down, right? So now we've got the whole baby storyline from both sides there.
Yeah.
The Brightborn Institute. So we know it's connected to Neolution. This is what we know so far. It's connected to Neolution. And in some way, they are getting test subjects to come and have babies on their property, and they're doing genetic testing on them.
Yes.
And in turn, they are using that genetic testing to have better babies for the people that are paying.
Right.
Does that seem to be what's happening?
That is my take on it exactly.
Okay.
Is that using less fortunate women to entice them into having babies for monetary gain, and so they can test their gene splicing to see how well it works.
Right. Yeah. And again, another grossness factor here.
Yeah, that was
that baby that was born. You can't help but feel sorry for not only the mother, but that baby, because I'm horrified.
Yes.
By that, because no matter what happens, the ramifications are bad.
Right.
I'm assuming that baby is not going to see the world.
No. No. They took it away, and I doubt anybody will ever see it again.
Right. And I'm guessing the mother signed away her rights to anything having to do with that baby. And it's terrible to think about things like that. And again, it's one of those things where it makes you think about whether these things go on in the real world or not, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm guessing maybe close, similar things happen, maybe.
It would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, me either. It really wouldn't, and that's tragic, I think. Not when we can do testing on some stem cells, except because of the law, we can't.
Right.
Except we can do stuff like this, and it's legal as long as they sign paperwork, which is horrific to me. So, yeah. There's my soapbox. I'm going to get down off of it real quick, But yeah, okay, so Cosima is going undercover instead of Felix because
instead of Allison.
Well, yeah, but Felix isn't going as the husband. And so they were going to recruit Allison, but Allison has a meeting, so Cosima decides to go. Because
Cosima says she's knows what she's looking for where Allison wouldn't.
And it was a great call.
Yes, it was.
A great call. In many ways. It was brilliant from a storytelling perspective as well.
Yes. Because
we got to learn an awful lot about Brightborn. Not only that Mrs. Duncan was in charge of the whole thing, because that was a bit of a surprise for me. I had no idea that she would still be part of Neolution, in that capacity.
Right.
But that she has her hand in all this genetic splicing and all that was interesting, I thought. But we also got to hear a lot about what goes into the Brightborn Institute through the chat that they had together. Mm-hmm. And that was a nice way to advance that plot line because she is a scientist and we got to hear them talk as scientists.
Yes.
And that was
even though Susan still didn't really say anything, but she didn't deny what they were doing either.
So telling, I think. I mean,
yes.
She couldn't deny it. Because if she denied it, then Cosima would have investigated. And she knows better.
Yeah.
Than to deny it. It's better to just do the I'm just not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I did like that from the very beginning, Cosima is savvy. When the paperwork comes out and she says, sign here, here, and here, can I get a copy of this? Immediately. Perfect.
Yes.
And you can tell that the woman doesn't have people asking that.
Oh, of course not.
She's taken completely aback.
Mm-hmm.
By that,
yeah, as soon as you sign it.
Once you sign it, absolutely. Yeah. And that right there is already a red flag for Cosima.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Donnie is completely clueless.
Except he comes up with the one thing that really did matter was, oh, crap. Evie Cho's here, and she was a high-ranking neo-illusionist.
Right.
That means she will probably recognize you.
Right.
You go,
exactly.
Wow, Donnie.
And he does manage to put a lot of the puzzle pieces together in this episode by accident. Yeah. Which I love as well. He's the one who sees Crystal and gets that message to Cosima without them seeing each other.
Right.
Because she would freak out if she knew she was a clone. Because we know she finds clones creepy.
Yeah.
And
she finds twin,
right. Well, I mean, same thing. Clones would be even creepier, right?
Yes.
Well, we've seen from this episode that she is, a conspiracy theorist.
Right.
So that clones, oh man, she would have a field day with that, right?
Yes, absolutely would.
And if she found out she was one, she would faint dead away.
Yeah.
So she's there, and she does not want to have a baby, right? I mean, she's there to find out what's going on.
Right.
Because she's followed a trail, probably just a trail of red herrings, but she just happens to be in the place where she needs to be. Hapless. The hapless blonde that just happens to be in the right place.
Well, she's... For a clone that hasn't really had any interaction with any of the other clones yet, she's kind of on the right path.
I know. In a weird roundabout way.
Eventually.
Right. In a weird roundabout way.
Right.
But it's through someone who had teeth in her eye. I think it was probably a neo-illusionist who had one of those white eyes.
Yeah.
And it had robotics in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
So it was making noise, and the neo-illusionist is what led her to the Brightborn Institute. And it's pretty smart, but the fact that she's got like the National Enquirer or whatever with her is it's very funny. She's just silly. And I love that Donnie can think on the fly. First of all, she says, oh my goodness, it's Crystal. You know, she knows, blonde, big hair. You know, first, I love the quote that Donnie says.
Yes.
Big blonde hair, perfect nails, voice like a can opener. And that immediately, Cosima knows it's Crystal.
It is.
Right. So she says, well, you got to keep her busy. And
find out what she's doing here, why she's here.
Right. He immediately figures out he's got to play the part of an employee and thinking on the fly, a masseuse.
Yes.
Fantastic. Fantastic disguise. And she's stealing all this stuff, so she kind of has to go along with stuff as well on her side. And a massage sounds good to her, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and I love this whole conversation was, well, you know, we were bonding because we were both, you know, health
healers.
Right. Healers. Oh, man. Yes, because I like to help people find their inner beauty. Oh, man. She is something else, right?
Yeah, she is.
Oh. And he makes one critical error.
Yes.
Critical for his groin area.
Yeah, exactly.
He mentions the name.
Dr. Cormier.
Yeah. He mentions her name. And that's it. That tips off Crystal. And then he also calls her Crystal.
Yeah.
Which, again, she hadn't said anything. And that's it.
Yes. And we get another Vic moment. Remember when Vic got drugged in the rehab center and he went face first?
Right.
Donnie gets kicked, karate chopped, and face palms into the table.
Right onto the edge of the table. That's right.
Just go, oh, that had
And since we saw at the beginning of the episode, she's taking lessons,
self-defense lessons. Yes.
We know that she can take down Donnie easily. So poor Donnie is all I have to say. He is probably out cold. Yeah. Even still. What is it, 4 days later now?
Yeah. He may be the only one that can save Cosima.
Right. That's true. That is true. So yeah, he's still out cold, I'm guessing. So I feel bad for poor Donnie.
He tried hard.
Right. And I love how they have identified already Susan and
Evie.
Everybody else. They've identified that Cosima's there in the other storyline. And as Cosima is diving into a room, Crystal comes out in the robe after taking down Donnie. And their henchwoman,
yeah,
brings Crystal in. And she's saying, to the camera, yes, I took all this stuff, okay? And Susan says that is Crystal, not Cosima. And they're incredulous. What is she doing here? Mm-hmm. How is this possible that, she's naive. She doesn't know that she is a clone.
She's not self-aware.
Right. So we need Cosima, not her.
And so Ira says, I'll go handle this.
Yeah.
I'll go talk to security and make sure they get the right one.
Right. Probably the wrong move.
Ira.
Right. Right. Because who does she not want to see? Someone that looks like the two guys that assaulted her.
Exactly.
Yeah, not a great move. And so that's kind of where we leave that, right? Where she gets escorted out and she is screaming bloody murder at Ira.
Yes.
So something's going to come of that, I'm guessing, right?
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Even though better get on a plane real quick or he's going to have some splaining to do.
Right. I mean, that's kind of resolved because of the cougarific scene, but I'm thinking she's going to do something about that.
Yes.
That there's going to be some follow-up on her part.
Mm-hmm.
That. So, yeah. And plus she's got all those beauty supplies that they might prosecute her for.
No, she dumped them all out. She dumped
but
so she doesn't have any.
I could see her picking them all back up. I definitely could. Mm-hmm. Just out of spite. Okay, so the Cosima storyline. This was, I think, the best Cosima storyline since, I don't know, season 2.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. We finally get Cosima back out doing something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
showing how capable she is because both Donnie and Crystal thought they were being good spies and Cosima was running circles around both of them.
Right. And even though she kind of landed in a couple places by accident, they were happy accidents. She found out a lot of stuff by doing that.
Yes.
She ducked into a room where she saw women talking to, I guess, technicians about being in the program, getting paid for being in a program.
Yeah, because one lady wanted to go spend the weekend with her son for his birthday and
could not do it.
Was not allowed, and because she hasn't delivered the baby yet. She's off her schedule.
Right. And there was also the remark that she was getting paid to be there.
Right.
So now she knows that these women are getting paid to be in this study and they cannot leave.
Right.
So she learns a lot from that little conversation. And of course, all the women are pregnant.
Yes.
So she sees, that they're doing testing on pregnant women and they're keeping them sequestered away from the rest of society and paying them. And then the next place she goes is out in the hallway where she gets pulled in because she's wearing scrubs and everything.
Right. And she's snapping pictures of the person's file.
Right. Smart.
And is smart, getting more information. Mm-hmm. And then the nurse comes out and drags her into the room.
Right. And again, what a great place to go because you can put the mask on.
Right.
No one knows who you are. And you get to actually observe what's happening. She's also a doctor. So she's probably been through a rotation where she's at least seen live births.
Right.
So she can be of help in the situation. And again, how we mentioned, it's just horrific what happens there. She is very calming to the mother. She goes straight to the head of the mother, the head end of the mother, holds her hand, comforts her, soothes her hair, that sort of thing, which it shows a lot about Casima's personality. She's not the clinical doctor in this situation.
No.
And then the baby arrives and so many bad things.
Yeah.
And this is where Susan has found out where she is and intercepts. And they have their talk.
Right. And this is the part that scares me.
Mm-hmm. Because it seems so rational.
Yeah, and we know Casima fell for it with Dyad.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't, because of the argument that Susan gives her that, Casima, you don't have the resources to save yourself.
Right.
And that's a truth.
Right.
Nobody can deny that. The odds of her being able to save herself are slim and none.
Right. Nil, I'm guessing. Just none.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And she knows it.
Yes.
Yeah.
She does. Mm-hmm. And all she's got to do is give Kendall to her. And she's like, ooh.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it seems like a fairly reasonable request.
Yeah.
To her,
if
at least.
That was, if you can believe that Susan would try to find a cure for the Lita clones.
Right.
If after
Kendall,
the last scene, I don't think we can say that.
Right. If Susan wouldn't be using Kendall to make her baby farm.
Right.
Or to use it for other profitable means, which I'm guessing would be the case, because that seems to be where she's headed. Profit, 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 not philanthropy. Because in the Evolution, it seems to be the profit end of things.
Yes.
We want a better future as long as you pay us. They actually kind of they pushed that on us during this episode with several times mentioning, well, you get what you pay for. They said that several times during this episode. So And also they mentioned how much they're paying the subjects as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they make it very clear that this is not a non-for-profit organization.
No.
And I'm guessing...
they got a little dyad in them.
Yeah. I'm guessing that this is definitely... She's not looking out for the good of mankind,
No.
Susan.
Yeah, the comment she made to Rachel a couple of episodes about trying to build a better world, I don't think so.
Right. And this is where the danger lies.
Yes.
There's no walking a fine line here. Walking a fine line I could deal with, but she is sticking her toe, she's sticking her whole foot over that line.
Yeah.
If not just stepping over it completely.
Right.
And
I don't think she's within 10 yards.
Yeah. I don't know where she stands in relation to it. I think there's a part of her that does want to save the clones. She has a vested interest in that.
Right.
Not just because of Ira, but because it's her project.
Mm-hmm.
But she also wants to do other things with it that aren't on the up and up, aren't good.
Right.
And I think Cosima only sees it as, well, she'd take samples and save us, and she'd also use it maybe to help people have children, and she's not looking far enough ahead. And I think Kendall's in danger. I don't know about you, but do you think that she would balk at killing Kendall to get what she needed?
Cosima, yes.
No, I mean Susan.
Oh, Susan, no.
Yeah.
No.
That's my thought.
She would have no problems killing Kendall to get what she wants.
Right. Yeah, I think Cosima would never do that.
Right. Yeah, she would sacrifice herself before sacrificing anybody else.
Right. But I don't think Susan would blink.
No.
I think the minute she got hands on Kendall, if that was what it took to get the information she needed, she would euthanize her.
Yes.
Immediately. So, see that, and that is where the danger comes in. Is where my mind goes. Is
right.
That she's cold and calculating, and it wouldn't be solving problems first. It would be taking her out, getting the information she needs, and putting it towards her business first.
Right.
I'm guessing. I don't know. I think we'll see more in the next episode.
Yes.
So, yeah, there's that. And the really sad part is that Cosima is being drawn in, and I understand why.
Yes.
100% I understand why. Because she's sick, and not just that, but she's worried about her sisters who could also get sick.
Right.
And that she's got a very soft heart.
Yes. And science.
And yes, because mad science.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I loved seeing Scott in this episode. He's always great.
Yes.
Very cool. He looks really good this season, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's lost a little weight.
Yep, I think so too.
He's very cool. And I like how they said, let's go visit Scott. Let's get some comics.
Yeah.
So they're making reference to the rabbit hole, which is great.
Yeah, now we do need to spend a couple minutes on Sarah.
Yeah, let's do.
I think her braid's too tight.
Well, it's actually very loose, but...
Yes.
I get what you're doing here. In reference to...
Just about everything except her daughter.
Yeah.
And basically it was Felix.
Yeah.
And Adele. That was her main thing in this episode.
Yeah.
But it just seemed to eat her up.
I can't say as I blame her, though. She has a reason to be suspicious, but...
Fee is her brother.
Right. She is very possessive of Fee. Mm-hmm. And Fee has always been there for her.
Yes.
And now, not only does she have to split her time with all these other sisters that she has, because, you know, she's kind of lost him to Allison and Cosima and everyone else on the Clone Club team, and Helena when she's around. But now he's got this other focus in his life, and that is just devastating to her. Mm-hmm. And this other focus is someone who is physically closer to him, like, you know, linked physically.
Right. Yes.
Closer to him. So, yeah.
And even though Sarah can be bad, can be trouble at times, I have a feeling that Adele will be more trouble for Felix than Sarah ever was.
Yeah, I think so too. I really do. And she's an addict.
Extreme.
We've seen that already. She was doing coke in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And
Felix
much
gave
drinking.
Her the nose.
Right. Much drinking ensued. Although they were all drinking, but drugs on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying that they're angels, the rest of the show. They've all done their fair share of recreational drug use, all of them.
Yes.
But yeah, I have a feeling that she's going to be trouble. And I really do think she's linked back to the main story.
Yeah, because a couple of possibilities here is Scott ran the test, determined that Sarah was right, and Sarah told Felix that no, it came out that they were related, mm-hmm. because she couldn't destroy Fee like that.
Right.
Or maybe Adele's got a maggot bot in her jaw.
Right.
That has
changed her DNA.
Changed her DNA to where it would match Felix's.
Right. That was my thought.
Uh-huh. Exactly. I'm leaning that way myself.
Because she is connected to Neolution through that
mm-hmm.
through that place that she used.
Gene connection.
Right. And since we know that bot changes DNA, mm-hmm. it's not a huge get.
No.
To stretch to that.
Yep.
I'm guessing we'll find out. And it's just heartbreaking to see Sarah being pulled like that. And it makes me sad also for Felix.
Yes.
Two different ways. First of all, yeah. because he went through all this same stuff, seeing that Sarah was truly related to, I'm going to put air quotes around related to Siobhan.
Right.
Clone-wise.
Yes.
And he wasn't.
Yes.
So she had a family where he didn't. And now, if Adele does end up being a part of this big plot line, Sarah's not going to lord it over him. She's not going to do the "I told you so" dance, but it's still going to hurt.
Yes.
A lot.
A lot, yes.
And he's going to resent her because it's because of her, you know, his association with her that this all went down.
Right. That he felt like he had a family and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Right.
It really never existed.
Right. And he's already resentful about the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
You know, why
he's been having issues ever since Cal came back into the picture.
Right.
Where he felt like he didn't belong with Sarah as much as, where's my place?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just feel horrible for him.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. He has a place there. That's the thing is
right.
She wants to give him that place. She wants him to have a place. But he just doesn't feel like it.
Right.
And he's going to have to find it on his own.
Yes.
And it's just heartbreaking. And there's always Uncle Fee.
Yes.
Kira will always want her Uncle Fee.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's heartbreaking for me. And it's also heartbreaking to watch Cosima struggle with that decision on what to do about Kendall.
Right.
So, yeah, some weird stuff coming up. Heartbreaking, and then gross.
Yeah.
With the cougarific thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, and then we have some quotes. Are we good with the storylines?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So we had the big blonde hair, perfect nails, voice like a can opener quote from Donnie. Then Crystal had a quote while she was getting the massage that I found was interesting. She said she felt like she had this connection and that she needed to find everyone's inner beauty. And one of the things she said was that pregnant women were so self-centered. And she says, Mommy has a mustache. Mama needs bleach. And I found that very funny.
Oh, yeah.
And you wrote, is that a rocket ship? From Kira. And then, of course, Felix's answer is, I've met men who do. And, of course, Allison, when she's talking to Cosima, and Cosima's like, well, what will you do if you go undercover with Donnie? And she says, I don't know, Sarah things, skulk around, look miserable, con people. So good.
Yes.
So good. And then, of course, Cosima has to talk her out of it because she's the scientist and she knows what to look for. So,
yes.
Which is a much better thing to do.
Yes. Anything to do with science, it must be Cosima.
It's better, yes. So we have some feedback this week, which is awesome. We have a audio feedback from Justina, so I'll play that first. And then we have iTunes feedback, which we'll read. So here comes Justina's feedback. It's long, so sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Hi, Karen and Steve. I give that episode of Orphan Black 8 out of 10. Yeah, you can call it a rocket ship if you want to. Sarah is having so much trouble sharing her brother with Adele, and trusting Adele in general. But I think that if I would have had Sarah's life experience, I would feel similarly wary to accept a new person into my inner circle that just randomly showed up, whether the genetics matched or not. So Cosima got to meet Dr. Duncan and get a look behind the scenes of what's really happening at Brightborn. I think one of the overarching themes in this show is that Neolution is having trouble learning that manipulating genes and trying to force certain traits to express themselves may not lead to a superior race. It leads to some perfect babies, sure, like the baby that Donnie held in orientation, but it can also have disastrous effects, such as the baby born at the end of the episode with all of its defects, and Cosima, who is suffering and dying, just like Jennifer before her at a young age, and Charlotte, younger yet, one more generation removed from the original, is showing signs of sickness before she even achieves puberty. At first I thought Cosima might confide in Dr. Duncan to try to find out some information that could help cure her disease, not so much for Cosima herself, but because she knows all of her sisters could be at risk. And Cosima is the kind of person that would sacrifice herself to help her sisters. But now that she sees the kind of manipulation and holding people against their will in Brightborn, I think that she is more unlikely to trust Dr. Duncan or ask for her assistance. I am super interested that Kira says that she can hear all of the clones, and she hears some that she has not yet met. That makes me super excited because I always like to get introduced to new clones. And Sarah's getting more and more volatile as the weeks go on, getting angrier with her sisters, her patience much shorter. I wonder if this behavior is at all related to the bot in her face. When this season began, I thought that Beth stepped in front of the train because she killed someone. And I still believe that. But now I'm wondering if she killed someone because because she had a bot too, and the bot in her face was giving her this rage. And all the clones were depending on her, and she stepped in front of that train so that she would take herself out before she could hurt any of them. I wonder if Sarah will go crazy, and the sisters will have to decide whether or not to take her out. And that's why Kira had that vision about her aunt setting her mother on fire. Catch you next week, Clone Club.
Interesting.
Great theory there, Justina.
Right? That's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And see, it might have just been a theoretical picture, you know, what do you call it? Not a real depiction, but a pictorial representation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, they might have to make a decision on what to do if something happens because of that stupid, weird worm. You know, I thought the worm would be the grossest thing.
Right. But no.
Not so much.
We've topped that already.
Right. With this.
By far.
That. So do you want to read our iTunes review?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Kelly Edge, for this iTunes review. 5 stars. Yay, same duo, new home. I am thrilled to have stumbled upon this podcast. I thought that Karen and Steve's chats about Orphan Black were done and gone. No, just not on DVMPE.
Right.
But they found a podcast new home, and I finally found them again. An Orphan Black season without Karen and Steve is a season that is lacking.
Aww.
Their banter is great, their understanding of the show is thorough, and their recap episodes are always interesting and fun.
Very nice. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
That's awesome. She tweeted me about that too, but
all right.
It's very nice. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Kelly. And if you want to give us feedback, how can they do that?
All right. You can do that in several different ways. First, our deadline is Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for feedback. So you have some time after the episode on Thursday night to get us some feedback. Or you can get a hold of us on Facebook at facebook.com/Felix's Helixes. You can typey out an email and send it out to felixshelixes@gmail.com. Or you can get on the Twitter machine.
That's right.
And tweet at any of the following. At Felix's Helixes, at Oliveria, or at Sawyer Steve.
That is right, because we are at all 3 of those places.
And we will reply.
Definitely. We will. I talk to most everybody on Twitter that tweets at me.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah. Well, I talk to everybody on Twitter that talks to me. Not most everybody, everybody.
Everybody, yes.
Right. If they tweet directly to me, I tweet them back. Unless they're rude. And then I don't. But most people that listen to this aren't rude. So
no.
You guys know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So again, that is Felix's Helixes is spelled FELIXSHELIXES. So use that everywhere. Felixes, Helixes is. And Oliveri spelled Aleveria. Salyer Steve is Salyersteve. How's that?
Very good.
Did I spell everything right?
You got it all right.
Okay, good. And I do have a preview from next week. Again, not spoilery, so you don't have to go anywhere. Next week is called The Scandal of Altruism. I think that says a lot, actually.
Yeah.
It says, altruism obviously being what Susan is trying to portray as how she wants to use Kendall, but the scandal of it, not so much.
Yeah.
This is season 4, episode 6 that airs on May 19th, 10 p.m. Eastern. When Cosima admits doubts about finding a cure in time to save her life, Sarah makes a lone decision that exposes Kendall to those she spent years hiding from. Meanwhile, Art and Felix team up to protect a naive clone, Crystal Goderich, from herself. Am I wrong, or does that sound like an awesome episode? First of all, Sarah going against Kendall. That is like Sparks against Sparks.
Yeah, and it's... I'm sure the other sisters are not... This will be another straw in the breaking of the back of Clone Club,
right.
I'm afraid.
Exactly. And then Art and Felix teaming up.
Yes.
To protect Crystal. And we already know that she's met Felix and thinks that he is a bohunk.
Uh-huh.
So how is that going to go down?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's
going to be
I
this.
can't wait to see that.
She's going to want to be like this with him, right?
Yeah.
She had a thing for him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and he didn't have much of a thing for her.
No, not at all.
But still.
And I don't know which is... I can't wait to see Art and Crystal.
I know.
And see him comparing Crystal and Helena to Sarah.
Right. Right. And he has zero patience.
Right now, yeah.
Right? I mean, he really doesn't allow a lot of leeway for anyone but Sarah, because Sarah kind of is in the same boat as him.
Right.
So, whenever Helena comes to visit, he really is stretched very thin.
Yes.
So seeing him with Crystal is going to be... That's going to be very interesting. And right now, Felix is not happy either.
Right.
So the two of them with Crystal. Wow. That is... Yeah. I can't wait.
May not go as well as it did for Donnie. And that's saying a lot.
Right. Not as intended. Working not as intended. So yeah, it's going to be another great Thursday night, I think.
Indeed it will.
Fantastic. So, all right. So we will be back next week, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys and you, Steve.
Absolutely.
So
be a lot of fun.
Yep. And that's it for tonight. We'll see you next week.
Good night, Clone Club.